Ani, Bojo, Kwekwe, Tanzi, Scano, greetings. It's Catherine and Brian at Moonstarlodge in Southern Georgian Bay, Ontario, Canada, with your Indigenous perspective on all things cartomancy. It's the weekly reading for November 4th to 10th, and if you're new to this channel, we do a weekly reading that comes out on Sundays for the Monday through the following rest of the week. And we are definitely 3 days into Gives Praise Woman, the 12th grandmother of the annual moon cycle. Every year it changes because the new moons are never on the same day. And so this year we will be blessed with the 13th moon cycle of Becomes Her Vision, which is the people we become through what we've learned in the medicine wheel circle for this year of 2024. And boy, is it coming quickly. So just because Halloween is over and the extra candy is probably gone, don't kid yourselves. It is still desperately and deeply in the time of ancestors. The veil is thin now until at least winter solstice. I will gauge then if it's still as open, thin as they say, closer to that point. We're filming this on All Souls Day, and that's follows Goblin Night, Halloween, All Saints Day, All Souls Day. It's still deeply filled with ancestors and the deceased, including Veterans Day on Remembrance Day on the 11th. And there are myriad, 70-something, if I remember properly, and I may not, at least globally, with all the cultures of the world, this period of time that runs between October and November, typically, for Days of the Dead, their harvest kinds of celebrations and feasting, because it's the end of summer, going into the winter. The feasting is to give thanks and get us ready, but it's also a lot of the feasts the food is shared with ancestors. We certainly do that in our cultural tradition. So I'm using ancestor decks, the ones that were given to me to use, and a couple of new ones. I'm using, just for the astrological stuff, the Barbieri Zodiac Oracle. Start my Jenga pile. The Dark Mirror Oracle by Laura Sava. This is a Pulling No Punches deck. The Earth and Bone Oracle by Syrian Shadow. Of course, how could I do an Ancestors reading without the Marigold Tarot by Amrit Brar, the Embroidered Graveyard Tarot, or Oracle, I'm sorry, and I can never remember her name. My apologies. It will be in the notes that follow the reading. Brian has her name there. This is one I haven't used in a long time, but it's a very poignant deck. It's called the Wandering Spirit Tarot, and it's by Hanuli Shin. This young woman found out that her best friend was dying, and they had about a month of time together, so she drew this as a way to deal with her grief. This one, the Rainbow Brain Skull, is just new to me, published by Andrews McNeil. Oopsie, I don't know the author off the top of my head because I've just been starting to work with it. But again, Brian will have that that doesn't pull any punches. This is all about working with ourselves and not being in denial. The Mirror Oracle by Amrit Brar, and the Crystal Skulls Oracle, and that's by Patrice Marty. So those are our decks. I will likely use them again next week because we will be moving into a full moon in the next reading, and I may change up which ones I use in what position. We'll see when we get to that. Anyway, Brian, let's go to the cards. By the way, Brian is having a medical procedure again this week, so please send your kind thoughts and prayers and wishes. So here are the 7 tarot cards, and here are more than 7 clarifiers. I actually had to have Brian retake the picture of this because this one got missed. Anyway, the significator card is the Wheel of Fortune. This, usually we decide whether it's looking for the good or looking for the bad fortune in the week, based on the cards that are around it. And I'm asking Spirit to share a little bit more about where this is going. So we want to stay in the center of this wheel. As life moves around us, we don't want to be on the outside of the wheel at the risk of being thrown off like rag dolls. We want to sit in the hub of the wheel. And so it's for us to be centered and connected. The clarifying card, the ancestor card, is the Queen of Pentacles. So this tells me right now that as long as we stay focused and centered, we are going to bring abundance and have a great week. It's up to us whether we make this happen or not. It's not up to the fates, which the Wheel of Fortune implies that it's fated. No, we have a strong hand as long as we take on the attributes here of the Queen of Pentacles. That card is followed by the Knight of Cups. So this asks us to look at what's happening with the eyes, the fresh eyes of an artistic, romantic, youthful person who sees the good in things and in people. And it's interesting, the card that came out of the little skull deck there is Evolve, and it shows a picture of some kind of weird creature, homunculi, morphing into a person. It says evolve into non-complainer. So one of the ways we elevate the vibration is to catch ourselves when we automatically go into criticism of others or of self. I'm feeling pushed to say we have to be careful about negative self-talk and catch ourselves. It takes the subconscious 4 times on average of us correcting ourselves to put that new habit into, or not correcting, but criticizing ourselves, for our subconscious to correct that capacity. So evolve into a non-complainer, and that's going to be the gift here of the Page of Cups, to see the beauty in things and to see the progress even when we trip and slip. The next card is the Ace of Cups. So new emotional paradigms are on the way. Could it be a relationship? Yes, it could, depending on the individual. Could it be a turnaround in an existing relationship? Yes, it could. Could it be finding love in the self in a new way, which these cards are asking us to do? Absolutely. But it could also be an evolving emotional maturity. Since this is an overarching collective reading, these kinds of attributions are going to be impacting us all. And what's the point? Why should we see ourselves and others with new eyes, as in a beginning? This is the card called Legacy. This says, rest in peace. Here lies an oracle reader who lived by the sun and loved by the moon. There you go. So because you're following this, you're an oracle aficionado, just as much as I am. So it's all about bringing gentleness. The middle card is the Eight of Swords. Always feeling trapped, but actually we're trapped by our own thoughts and anxieties. I notice a trend in the past 15 years, as I have been counseling, of people getting into what I call, or what is called, anticipatory anxiety, living in the future, seeing oneself in a situation, and beginning to rehearse what they're going to say, how they're going to handle the situation, living in the future. The future doesn't exist. And so we are not trapped, we have trapped ourselves. It's clarified here by two cards, and this is why Brian had to reshoot this picture. They asked me to pull this card, and I thought that they were talking to me today because I'm in excruciating pain like I have not experienced in some time. It's a dreadful, makes me want to scream kind of pain. And this card says, blinded to pain by denial. It is completely the card of denial. And so they're not saying deny the pain and be blinded to it. They're saying accept that you've put yourself into this anxiety and trauma and extra cortisol and extra adrenaline and interrupted sleep, and possibly emotional eating and possibly substance use. We cannot be in denial that we have caused this or are ignoring it. We need to adapt. The original card that came out says the prayer. What is Spirit asking us to do? Not pray in the religious sense of prayer, but just have a conversation with Source. Typically when we get in these places, we're very cut off. We're very small. I notice when we douse the fields of people who are in an anxious, fearful, pained place, that their field is very, very tight against them. So it's not protective. We have to remember that we are part of a greater good. We are part of a consciousness, whether you call it the great mystery, whether you call it the field of all possibilities, the thing that connects us all, God, Allah. It does not matter what you call this greater love. When we are in connection and remember to talk to Source and our guides and teachers and angels and ancestors, we can more easily come out of denial and assuage these feelings of distress. So moving through that, who are you going to call? Well, not the Ghostbusters today. You're going to call the Queen of Swords. She is the off with their heads kind of chick. She's like a motorcycle mama. Rosie the Riveter. She is the one who suffers no fools, including her own foolishness, if she had any, and she cuts out, removes anything that stops us from being our absolute best. She takes no quarter, takes no guff, as I say, suffers no fools. So the Queen, we've got now two queens actually in this reading. We've got the Queen of Pentacles, plenty, and the Queen of Mental Acuity, sees things perfectly, not creates monsters. So she's going to get rid of the monsters and cut their heads off. We have the Visionary. This is becoming the visionary that the Queen would have us be. It brings confidence, passion, and self-worth, which is kind of the opposite of what some of these cards suggest. So she's helping us pull our own selves up by our bootstraps. The next is the Ten of Pentacles. Well, can't get better than that. This is know that we have everything we need, that we have, and this is in the material, in the earthly dimension, and we're looking at legacy. This is a card that speaks of legacy. So what we are all creating here, this reading will require some thought and maybe a replay, because what we're moving out of is the smallness of thinking of only self and looking at what we are giving into the greater good, into the collective energies. And so the Ten of Pentacles, the crystal skull here, is Mansour. And let me find what Mansour means. I wish Brian had some fun music to play, but kind of like being on the phone waiting. So Mansour is a skull who's made out of lapis lazuli, and he's about chakras 5 and 6. So he's about throat and third eye in the traditional system. He symbolizes the sacred force, brings fullness and inner peace, a stone of communication and intuition. Mansour helps develop honesty, compassion, and righteousness. He was discovered in the Amazon rainforest by an Incan tribe from northern Peru. Yeah. Place me in your heart, he says. Let my message teach you. So, if you've got some lapis lazuli, get it out. That will help. Finally, the Three of Swords. Now, I asked Brian to douse when I saw this card. Is this the older traditional 500 years worth of meaning around the Three of Swords, or this is the last 100 years of Rider-Waite? And so he doused, and it's the original meaning, which is the swords are releasing information gained, wisdom gained through our sometimes not very pleasant experiences, but it isn't always about a broken heart, okay? So this is not the broken heart meaning. This is the meaning of there's been struggle and decisions made, and this is the releasing of wisdom. This is like the epiphany moment. So we start here in this space with the Wheel of Fortune and going through all of this hard work. If we all go through this, we evolve tremendously. We'll have an epiphany, and that's extremely important. The last three astrological cards, I asked for the attributes, and I got the attributes of Mars. Mars, the warrior. We need our passionate warrior spirit, and Mansour brings that. We have the planet of Neptune, which is strongly associated right now with Scorpio because we're in the standard astrological month of Scorpio, and that's deep shadow work. So we're into the void. And everything we do now evolves and finishes in Virgo. And Virgo is the month from the end of August till autumn equinox of next year. So this is almost 10 months. something like 10 months. You can flip the cards. I'm glad when the ancestors don't pat us on the head and say everything will be all right and give us a cookie. We are responsible for our choices and responsible for pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps. But we have all these wonderful ancestral spirits to help. So there is no reason for us to involute and become small, afraid, and lacking in spirit connection. That's the best kick in the pants that we could get. Anyway, we'd like to thank you for staying with us through to the end. Give us a thumbs up if you wish. Subscribe if you haven't. That certainly helps circulate the video. Needing coffee. Got to deal with this pain, kids. I think it's the weather change and RA don't dance well. So from Brian and myself, have a great week. Aho.